Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Muslim Kid Show with myself and Colin.
I'm still here. Hello, hello, hello.
All right, today, bruv, good to see you here as well. Right, just before the break, we were talking about history and comics and football, and it's funny how they have so much in common, actually. But what I want to talk about now is that, yeah, we've talked about history. We've talked about, looking into history and learning lessons from history. So what I want to ask you directly, Colin, is based on your history, your knowledge of history, and you're very well knowledgeable about football and things of that nature. How did you then use that information about the history of football to choose your path? Because choosing one's path in life is very important in deciding what you want to do, where you want to put your energies, what skills you want to develop. So for you, how did you use your knowledge of the past and history to choose your path?
I think it's a question that all children go through. When you grow up, what do you want to become? And if you ask children, they'll say all kinds of obscure things because they're just throwing it out there. It's maybe they've got it from influences through books or TV or family and friends. And, kids come out with maybe say, I want to be a football player, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an astronaut, a firefighter.
That's a classic.
So kids always hit us off with these directions. But I think the key to it is liking something. Now, when you find out you like something, then you participate, you want to have a go. But then if you find out that you're then good at that one thing, it's then having the confidence to maybe stick to it and say, that's what I want to become. Absolutely, no doubt, I want to become a football player. And then your journey begins. The hardest part of any journey is the first step, making that decision. But also understanding that that decision can change at any given time.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that, yeah.
It can change. So the road can fork to the left and maybe take you away from that thing that you love so much. And then perhaps it's only something that you come back to, depending on your circumstance in life. So for example, what makes it different from a child who's born in Africa to a child who's born in Europe to a child who's born in Asia or America is their choices different to ours. I think every child deserves the right to choose what they want to do when they grow older. And it's also about having the resources. So the history of football was because my father took me to football games and my mum always encouraged me to do what I loved and to get out there and mix with other children. But the irony is at the start, I wasn't very good at football. I wasn't very good at all. And I ended up not making many friends there. And then my parents then put me back into a club, and then I was one of the first in this group, and I built friends very quickly, and that gave me a lot of confidence. And I think football always stuck with me then. It stuck with me, and I said it was a thing that I wanted to become. Alhamdulillah, I'm very lucky because I now do something that I love for a living, and it's something that I've chosen, and it's something that I was able to stick with, and it was as firm as that. I knew what I wanted to become, I decided what I liked, and I was going to go ahead for it.
MashaAllah. I mean, for me, it's exactly the same. It was, my love for comics. Initially what it was is that I wanted the heroes, whatever heroes they may be, because it's Marvel, DC, I wanted them to be real because I loved them so much. I enjoyed the stories so much and the adventures that they went through that I wanted these characters to be real. Obviously, I couldn't make them real. The closest thing I could do to make them real is to draw them. So that means I had to develop that skill. So obviously started with pencil and then going with coloring pencils and then felt tip pens and then going on to airbrushing and then going to digital. But that initial love of the characters, as you said with yourself, the initial love of the sport,
I've got to throw something into the mix now. If you, obviously this is hypothetically speaking, if you wasn't an illustrator and something happened, what would you do? What else would you be doing if you wouldn't be doing this?
If I wasn't an artist drawing.
Correct. If you weren't an artist,
well,
what's plan B?
Plan B, I'd be a designer. And I always say this, if I had another 30 years ahead of me, which I might do, but in terms of realistically speaking, I would want to do like Toy Story. those anime, like what we've got for the Fruity Bunch here. That's the kind of thing I would want to do. Go into it very deeply, 3D animation, CGI.
And if you weren't an animator?
I would be a singer, a performer, which is what I do anyway, so alhamdulillah. So in terms of performing, producing music, singing songs, performing on stage.
If you could pick what you enjoy more out of drawing,
why
illustrating,
why are you putting me out?
And singing, what comes first?
I can't answer that question. I've asked that question has been put to me a few times, and I've never really been able to answer it. I know what I enjoy out of each one. Each one has its own aspect of it that I really enjoy. When I perform live, I love the reaction of the crowd.
Now, you're a man of many skills. You can draw, you can sing, you can illustrate. You're very good at presenting as well. However, do you have any other hidden talents?
I can tie my shoelace and whistle at the same time, bro.
Can I try it?
No, you can't try it. You don't want to upstage me, man. No, but you know what it is, and this is I think it's very good for the kids as well. And you mentioned it, that sometimes you may choose a path, but that doesn't mean that you're going to stick to that path. So when I started drawing superheroes, I never dreamt in a million years that I'd be on television, that I'd be drawing on television, or that I would do my own radio show, or perform on stage, or host. They kind of led naturally, one bled into another quite naturally. And
I heard a talk, sorry to cut you short there, I heard a talk from a sheikh before, and I was told that everything in the earth was written 40,000 years.
50,000 years.
50,000 years, thank you for correcting me, 50,000 years before the earth was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which led me to realizing everything is under the qadr of Allah, and the pathways had been chosen. Not to say to anyone that discouraging them from what they might want to do, might not want to do. It's saying that no matter what happens in the end, Allah knows, and Allah chooses the best thing for us. And so as much as we go through life and we develop new skills, and the pathways sometimes deviate as we go through life, alhamdulillah for everything that we get. And I think we get selected by Allah to do a certain thing, and I just pray that everyone out there gets the opportunity to do what they love.
Inshallah, that's a blessing. It's a massive blessing for you. It's a huge blessing for me to be able to do the thing that we love and do it for a living. You know, to be able to live from it, and that is sometimes, you know, we do it so often that it kind of becomes normal, becomes just, oh, we're just doing that thing. But if you really sit and reflect upon how huge of a blessing that is, really it's absolutely mind blowing. The prophets, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the lives that they led, the challenges and the struggles that they faced, you know, they were truly awesome characters to be able to be in that position and to deal with it by the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, but as human beings in this modern age, we also face our own challenges. I would imagine that you must have faced a few of your own challenges. You don't have to go into detail as to what they may be, but just give us an overview of how do you deal with challenges, whatever they may be.
I think your biggest challenge is always yourself. Of course, a lot of things in life are dictated by your circumstances. I mean, where you live, do you get access to certain things, and do you get the support base that you need? I mean, just to touch quickly on the prophets of Allah, if you look at the story perhaps of Musa alayhi wassalam, who wasn't gifted with speech, who was up against a huge tyrant, he was tested in many ways, and also the people turning against him and his brother Harun, and all the things that they had to endure was a great learning curve. And if you take the story of Yusuf alayhi wassalam, the way he still loved his family despite being thrown into the well and spending years away from them and being treated as a slave and as an imprisoned character, and yet he still rose above that. And if you look at obviously the story of Yahya, how strong he was to speak up to the king and to still face persecution, and Idris, who also had difficulties with the people not listening to him, and also prophets who made mistakes. You look at Yunus, who was told not to leave the city and still left the city. I mean, we, as much as they are prophets, they're still human beings, and they are similar to us in the same way that we have emotions and we have actions and reactions. And I think the challenges that I always faced was, you know, believing in myself, having the determination to do it again, and to keep falling down and getting back up again and trying again, and then not to limit myself in any way, shape or form, despite how daunting a task things were. I always believed that I could do it. I always believed in myself. Alhamdulillah, I have my parents to thank, who always supported me, who never restricted me, and always encouraged me to do my best by all means. And I learned something very early on, that when you have dreams and hopes, sometimes keep them to yourself, because people will do everything they can to destroy you, to tear you down, and to ruin your idea. So as long as you protect it in your heart, you are confident with it, Allah knows best. I mean, and I guess for yourself as well, with challenges and difficulties, and, you know, we spoke earlier about that first step of choosing your pathway. Similarly, every time we get a challenge and a knockback, we get tested. Is this the right thing for me? Maybe it's not too late to pull out and to try something else, and to try another career path. And am I doing the right thing here? You know, so you have these mental thoughts that you go through on a regular basis that make you question really who you are and why you're doing it. And I guess you must have had those similar cases, or maybe I'm only good at drawing, and maybe the nasheed is my thing, and, you know, deciding what's what for you.
With the nasheed, because I first signed a contract in 2004 to produce 4 albums, and the first performance I did was in front of 4,000 people as a solo artist, because I did backing vocals for Zayn Beaker, but as a solo artist it was in front of 4,000 people, and the reaction I got back from the people was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Going to the shops, you know, doing exams, driving a car, none of it compared to that reaction. So it made me really think about, you know, the attention makes you feel good about yourself, but the danger in that is that you begin to get a bit proud. So what it did for me is that I had to then start questioning myself. Am I actually doing it because I want to spread the message of Islam through songs? Or am I not doing it because I just like the attention, the adulation, getting off stage, people wanting your autograph, want to take pictures with you, want to follow you on this platform or that platform, buy your albums and follow you everywhere? Because the ego, it's so easy to inflate, and it can easily get run away with you. So one of the things that I had to do, one of the first challenges, which I never anticipated, was to really check my intention. And it took me a long time, when I say a long time, maybe 6 or 7 months, to really figure out, why am I doing this? Because if I'm just doing it for my own self, then I think my intention is wrong. I should be trying to do it for the sake of Allah, to give children and people alternate songs to the pop songs. And that should be a sincere thing for the sake of Allah only. But if that starts to get clouded by my ego and me, that took a long time to deal with and try to purify my intention.
Would you think that was heightened more so because you were in the spotlight, as opposed to someone who probably has a 9-to-5 job, and ego affects them in a different way to perhaps your job? Yeah,
definitely. Because in our culture, in the Western culture, fame, being on stage, it's a huge thing. Everybody at some point, you know, fancies themselves as a massive performer, a singer, a pop star, a rock star, the glamorous life, that all the trappings that appear to go with it. We all are drawn to that. We like to see people, Michael Jackson, Prince, all these massive stars. We just love that about that side of the culture. So automatically, when you start doing something similar in the Islamic arena, all those ideas start coming into your mind about being famous, being rich, being sought after, being adored. So, you know, it is a massive, and it's an ongoing, in terms of purifying your intention, it's an ongoing process. You have to check it time and time again. And I have seen people that got drunk, if you like, on fame, and it went to their head. I've seen it so many times over the last 15 years. People, they took it that they were doing it. They thought, this is me. Of course I should be having all these fans because I'm an amazing singer. And it began to affect them. And they soon fell off the scene. They disappeared. And two, people start to get a bad feeling for them. And they built a bad reputation. Because I do believe people like Zayn Beaker, these amazing artists, Omar Issa, doing fantastic work. It's because the reason why they're where they are is because Allah has blessed them, because he's seen that their intention is good. And he's allowed them to continue to be successful in that arena. So checking your intention for me was the first very big challenge that I had to really grapple with for a long time. Other challenges, whether it's the books or art or doing a radio show or things of that nature, whenever I kind of encountered difficult challenges, maybe I'm trying to design something that's not working out, or I'm trying to write a story and I just can't get it to work. I always go to those people that have done it before and seek their advice. Someone that I know is successful in it, and I pick their brains, or I go online and I read stories about people that have been successful in the particular field that I want to be successful in, and see how they coped with those.
Do you feel
challenges.
as well that being a Muslim is attributed to you facing challenges and turning and having a solution for doing the right thing?
Definitely, because at the end of the day, we are Muslims and we do have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is, psychologically, it's a huge lift. And then practically speaking, when you start to do the things which you're supposed to do and you feel like you're doing the right intention, you see doors begin to open. And I think that's what's happened to me. Doors began to open in arenas that I never, ever thought would open for me. I never, as I said earlier on before, I never thought I'd be doing television. I never thought I'd be doing radio, hosting. I never thought I'd be a singer on the stage. I did the GPU with 22,000 people. I've been to Germany 3 times, Sweden 3 times, Canada so many times, America, Malaysia, South Africa, so many. I never dreamt I would be performing in those places. But Allah kind of put me in those places. So that is it's a different, if we were just like non-believers and we were trying to be successful, yeah, of course you can be successful. But I think for us, the extra layer of sweetness is that we now, Allah is blessing us. And he's making our accounting go up, not just in this dunya, but our accounting is going up in the hereafter.
I think you're missing a key ingredient though in between that. You've told me, obviously we've spoken about the challenges and how we deal with them and how we stay grounded and check in ourselves. But I think we also need to touch on the fact that constant hard work gets us through as well. A challenge is something that must be persisted. We must persist through it to get better.
Yes.
And sometimes the biggest challenge in its own self is the fact that we can just give up when things become difficult. Because let's face it, you became an nasheed artist, an illustrator, an artist out of your passion and your love, because that's what you were good at. But the second you face a difficulty, do you give up or do you continue to work to make improvements to push through it? So I think it's important to tell all the viewers that persistence and hard work speaks volumes in whatever you do. You must persevere when the going gets tough.
Yes.
I mean, no one said fasting for 30 days in Ramadan would be easy, but we do it.
Yeah.
Because we tell ourselves there's a reward. We ground ourselves and tell ourselves the reason, but we have to do the work.
Yes.
And the work says, do not eat from sunrise to sunset. You do that, you can be successful, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And you face all kinds of temptation. You smell pizza all day long. you see people drinking water.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. But nobody said to get to the promised land would be easy.
Very true.
So hard work is a key here.
Perseverance, mashallah. Right, we're going to talk about perseverance right now with our fruity bunch. Every time I introduce the fruity bunch, it just makes me hungry. I'm glad it's not Ramadan actually. And there are 4 fruits, they want to tell you right now. There are 4 delicious fruits. I know you're not supposed to eat them, but I just love the fruity bunch, guys. So we got one of our videos of the fruity bunch coming up right now. Check it out, inshallah.
The Muslim Kids Show.
The Fruity Bunch Goes Sailing by Minara Begum. Asad watched as the darkness of his window was invaded by sunlight. He cuddled his blanket even tighter as he looked at the alarm clock. 6 o'clock. Still too early to get up, he thought. It was Saturday morning, and everyone was still asleep. Asad closed his eyes, but he was too excited to sleep. Today was the day that his granddad was taking him and his friends out on a day trip. They were going sailing. "Have you got everything you need?" asked Asad's mum. "Yes, mum," he replied as he looked out of the window, trying to be patient. His face lit up when he saw his granddad's car pull up. "He's here! He's here!" shouted Asad as he ran to open the door. "Grandad, I love you!" he said as he leaped into his granddad's arms. His granddad held him tight. "I love you too. Now come on, we need to get going. We need to pick up your friends." "Subhanallah, look at the deep blue sea. It's sparkling," said Saliha in wonder. The Fruity Bunch stood at the edge of the boat, looking out to sea. It was a beautiful day. They closed their eyes and looked up towards the sky. The warmth of the sun entered through their eyes, and they all felt warm and fuzzy inside. The gentle breeze stroked their faces as it blew along, leaving the Fruity Bunch with a salty taste in their mouth. After praying Zuhr and eating lunch, the Fruity Bunch sat on the deck, looking up at the clouds. "That one looks like an elephant," exclaimed Bisma. Suddenly, Saliha jumped up. "Look! Look!" she shouted. Everyone got up and looked out at the ocean. "What is it?" asked Bisma eagerly. "It's a pod of dolphins," Saliha announced. "I can see it," cried Anas. "Me too," said Asad with excitement. They all stared at the dolphins and watched as they swam past in perfect harmony. "Well, this has been a wonderful day, but it is time to pray Azra and go home," said Grandad. "No!" the Fruity Bunch shouted together. But the sun was setting, and they knew it was time to head off. They sat on the edge of the boat, watching the water bobbing up and down. Suddenly, Asad jumped up. The others looked at him, wondering what was wrong. Asad moved closer to the edge of the boat and peered down. He pointed at the water, and the others slowly moved closer to take a look. They felt a little nervous. What was Asad pointing at? They all peered over the edge together. There, in the water, right up close to the boat, was a dolphin, bobbing up and down. The Fruity Bunch looked at each other. "I think it's time for an adventure," said Asad, extending his arm out to the centre. The others followed him, one by one. They closed their eyes and were whisked off. "Wow," said Anas, looking around. The underwater view was amazing. The dolphin swam really fast from side to side, up and down. He even somersaulted out of the water. The Fruity Bunch found it very difficult to keep up with him. Suddenly, he came to a stop. "We need your help," said the dolphin. "We don't have much time." He sounded worried. The dolphin stared at them. All of a sudden, he began to make a clicking sound. "What is he doing?" whispered Asad. In a matter of minutes, the Fruity Bunch were surrounded by a pod of dolphins. "Where did you all come from?" asked Asad, surprised. "It's called echolocation. The sounds we make can travel hundreds of feet. We use it to communicate with other dolphins." "What exactly do you want us to do?" asked Anas. "It's my baby," said another dolphin, with tears rolling down her eyes. "My baby is trapped. Do you know that dolphins need to breathe air? If we don't help him—" The dolphin stopped talking. "Will you help us? Dolphins can't stay underwater for very long, so we need to act fast," said another dolphin. Lead the way, said Bisma. She knew her friends would support her decision. The water was getting darker as they swam deeper and deeper down to the seabed. Saliha huddled next to Bisma as they swam past a shipwreck. This place is very creepy, said Saliha quietly. I know, Bisma replied. But don't forget why we are doing this. We are trying to save the baby dolphin. Allah loves people who help others. Allah will be very happy with us. The thought of pleasing Allah put Saliha's mind at peace, and she happily followed the others. The Fruity Bunch watched as the dolphins used echolocation and Mother Dolphin's signature whistle to locate the baby dolphin. Subhanallah! Dolphins are such smart creatures, Anas said, amazed by the techniques used by dolphins to communicate. Oh no, Asad shouted. Look, over there. He's trapped under a fishing net, he said. They saw something lying flat on the sand. He has become weak, said one of the dolphins. He has no energy to fight anymore. The dolphins looked sad and helpless. We are here now. He won't have to fight anymore, said Anas bravely. Come on, guys. We can do this. The Fruity Bunch swam forward. Anas and Asad untangled the fishing net from large pieces of debris. The pieces looked like it was from a plane crash. Bisma and Saliha removed seaweed which was tangled on the fishing net. Grab the corners, Anas commanded. 1, 2, 3, and go! The Fruity Bunch worked as a team to lift the fishing net and free the baby dolphin. The baby dolphin was happy to be united with his mother again. Come on, said Bisma. It's time to go home. Ship ahoy, said Grandad, ringing his bell. Come on, you lot. We can't play games forever. We have homes to go to, said Grandad, chuckling to himself. They looked at each other and smiled. All they wanted to do was go home.
Right, guys, we're going to go for a very, 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 very quick break, but do not go anywhere. See you in a short while, inshallah.